welcome to my daughter and son-in-law's brand new home. It's their starter house and there are projects and upgrades happening all over the place. They are so excited to move into their brand new little house. So far, my main contribution has been to put shiplap up in some key locations throughout their house. They inherited some pretty bad wall repair patches from the previous owner, and it's left the walls looking uneven and pretty gross. So I suggested shiplap as what I thought would be a pretty easy solution and also look really nice. To get started, I removed all the outlet covers as well as any trim that we were going to be replacing. And next I found and marked all of my stud locations. This wall was longer than my 12-foot boards, so I needed to be very careful to cut the shiplap so that where the two pieces would meet up, it would be at a stud. It's very important that where they meet and a seam is created, that both ends can be nailed into the stud. That helps them lay nice and flat. In general, I like to start at the bottom and get that first piece level and work my way up. However, in this back stairway, for multiple reasons, it was better for me to start at the top. As I was turning those corners, it helped me keep all of my shiplap pieces and the gaps lined up. But that's a decision you can make for your own situation. Either way, you just need to make sure that first row is level. If you are lucky enough to have a wall with no outlets, no windows, no doors, no angles, it goes together so quick and easy. I actually had 2 of these walls and I loved them. It was dreamy to work on those. But I had plenty of walls with outlets I needed to work around. Also had this window ledge that needed some interesting cuts. The back stairway had an angled ceiling. This lovely piece had multiple levels, a beam, and a window. And finally, a nice little set of stairs that I had to work around. I found hanging shiplap to be an enjoyable project with lots of instant gratification when it was moving along quick, but there is no way I could have done a project this size with all these walls without many of the tools I had on hand. My jigsaw was how I made all the outlet cover cuts, as well as making little notches around the stairway and the window ledge, and also that really crazy ceiling piece. The radial arm saw did all of the short straight cuts and angled cuts. I started out using this handheld skill saw for the really long straight cuts that I needed to do. But I wasn't real thrilled with the quality of my cuts and it was a little more time consuming, so I went ahead and went home and got my table saw, and that really just was so much faster, so much more accurate. It was a great tool to have around. One trick I used to figure out and mark little notches and places that I needed cuts was to use a scrap piece of wood and a tape measure and a pencil. This would help me mark it out, and then I could make a practice cut to see if it was working or not, and then I could transfer that right onto the actual piece. For cuts that were not square and were rounded or really oddly shaped, I had this scribing tool that you'd push into the shape that you wanted to cut, and then that allowed you to transfer that shape onto your piece of wood, and then I cut that out again with the jigsaw. And here's a tip. Save all your scrap pieces. This tiny little piece that goes over the stair, I cut 3 different times. It was getting to the end of the day and I was tired and I kept cutting the wrong end off, and with shiplap that really does matter. Finally the 3rd try I got it, but save your scrap pieces, they come in handy. For the angled cuts in the back stairway, I did use this angle finder, which could be transferred onto my radial arm saw. I then cut the angle first and then would hold it up and make a line on the back side of that piece so that I could then cut off the end to fit. If you're thinking about a shiplap project in your house, keep in mind that you are almost inevitably going to have to trim the edges. As hard as you try, you're just going to have some gaps that you're going to need to cover. I used a 2-inch MDF. It was inexpensive and it went up nice and straight and easy and made a nice finished edge. And how have I not mentioned my nail gun? This was my new toy for this project.
I really do try to add something with every project, and this has become my absolute favorite new toy, and this is what I use to put the shiplap on the wall. So this is a 16 gauge Drywall nail gun. It's an angle nailer. It is cordless. It's
Okay, back to trim. I was doing just a series of 45-degree angles to get around that beam. This actually took me a really long time, and I don't have any great tips other than just keep trying, trial and error. I had so many angled pieces trying to get this right. Oh, if anyone has great tips on how to trim with angles quickly and easily, let us know. Leave it in the comments because this took me a really long time. And once you have all your little crazy cuts in place, remember that spackle and caulking are your friend. They cover up all those nail holes, all the gaps, all the seams. I used this flexible spackle. It worked really well, and then I also caulked around several places. And here are some before and afters again, before trim and caulk, and then how it looked after. All the edges are nicely finished. Definitely plan to spend some time on that finish work. It just makes it look so nice. And here is that bedroom before and after. Looks so much better. I love it. And this back stairway is moving along. The shiplap is mostly in. All I have left is the trim work, the spackling, and the paint. I so appreciate that you took your time to watch this uniquely Ursula video. I hope it was informational and you learned a little something about shiplap. If you did, let me know in the comments. Let me know about your projects. Like, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.